I didn't look through what we've done and what we haven't, but I've got an idea of one that I don't think we've done.
Okay.
And if it doesn't sound familiar to you, and I can't remember if we did it, then maybe it won't sound familiar to anybody else either.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, well, let's go. Let's head to Detroit.
All right. Hey, let's put in gear and head to Detroit. Hey, welcome back to yet another episode of Road Noise. And Happy New Year to you that are those that are hanging out with us. It's just now in early January of 2025, and I'm excited about the new year and ahead of us. And I'm also, hey, of course, excited, Dad, about where we're headed tonight. For those that are just jumping in, Dad has collected hundreds of stories over the years in ministry, and we've been capturing them here in our conversations here on Road Noise. And We were just commenting about, how long to continue these because we're well over 100 now, and we probably still have some more miles to go. But yeah, we're looking at 2025, and we'll see where it takes us. So, where are we headed to tonight, Dad?
Hey, tonight I thought let's head to Detroit. Yeah, it's not that far away, and just a nice evening drive. Well, you mentioned that we're now officially into 2025, and uh, this story takes place on New Year's Eve a few years ago. But I was thinking about that earlier today. It's kind of unusual when you think about it. New Year's Eve always seems to come on December 31st. At least it did this year, and I'm guessing it probably will in 2025 as well. And thus was the case several years ago when we were asked to do a watch night service at a church just south of Detroit. But we'll call it Detroit. In either case, it's about a 2-hour drive away. And back then, a lot of churches did watch night services. New Year's Eve, everybody gets together at the church and, you usually have a potluck dinner and testimony time. Everybody shares how God has blessed over the past year and so forth. And then in our case, they'd, have us in to do a puppet presentation and so forth to kind of make it a fun evening and wrap the old year up and bring in the new year. And so we were at this church for one of these occasions, and everything went well. I mean, there's nothing out of the ordinary there. But on the way there, the weather got all right. It's December 31st, and on our way to the church, it's raining. And in Michigan, December 31st, when it's raining, it might not be a good scenario. This might not end up well. But we made it to the church, got everything carried in, everything's set up. The entire evening went well. And now it's time to leave. Of course, the service isn't over until shortly after midnight. And so it's, wee hours of the morning here, just after midnight. And it's time to tear everything down and get it all packed up and loaded back in the bus. Well, tearing things down and packing it up, we do that a lot, so that was no big deal. And so the plan was I'm going to carry a load out to the outside and just set it outside the door, and then I'm going to head on over to the bus, which we'd parked clear out as far away from the building as we could, leaving parking spaces for everybody else. And I'm going to go out there and start the bus up, let it run for a while because it's got to build up air pressure before the brakes will release and so forth. And then I'll pull it back up to the door of the church. Meanwhile, we had a whole crew of people that have stuck around afterwards. We've got everything packed up. And so while I'm out there doing this, they're going to continue to bring things outside the door and just set it there on the sidewalk. So when I pull up, all we got to do is load up and we're all out of there. Well, that was the plan. It didn't quite go the way that we had hoped, because when I got out to the bus, I found that the bus was encased in a layer of ice. All that rain had frozen. I couldn't get the door open. The windshield is covered in ice. And it's like, you got to be kidding me. the bus is entombed. And so I'm out there and I'm chiseling away trying to I figure if I can at least get the door open, I can get inside and get the thing started, get it warmed up and get the defroster going. And, you know, well, I chipped and chiseled away and beat on the door to finally it did release. And I got in and the bus started right up. And so I figured, okay, I'm just going to sit here and wait for it. I got to scrape the windshield and I had an ice scraper inside. Anyway, so I got it all cleaned off so I could see where I was going to get back up there. And it built up the air pressure that we needed. So I hit the button to release the brakes, put it in gear, but I couldn't go anywhere. That poor old bus just sat there on this paved church parking lot and the tires just spun. It wouldn't move an inch. All right, so here I am at the end of the parking lot. It's dark out, it's cold, and people are waiting for me to pull the bus up there, and they're kind of watching and notice that I'm not moving, but the tires are spinning. And so a whole group of guys made their way to the opposite end of the parking lot where I'm at and started to push the bus. Okay, remember what we're just facing here. We've got a parking lot that has this layer of ice on it. And here's all these men with their dress shoes on, for the most part, trying to stand up on the parking lot on this ice. Not only stand here, but we got to push a Greyhound bus. I mean, today I'm sure somebody would have got that on video. But back in those days, that wasn't an option. But I'm sure it would have been a hilarious sight to see. Well, all these guys did their job and did it well. And eventually the bus did start to move. And once we had some momentum going, it's like, okay, don't stop. I'm just going to keep right on going. I got to get up to the door and get this thing loaded. And so once we had it moving, I was able to get the bus up there to the door. Like I said, everything is sitting there on the sidewalk now, ready to go. So I get out, and it did not take long at all. We had everything loaded up. And everybody's standing around kind of like, okay, what are we going to do? Is everybody going to go home now? Or do we want to just camp out here at the church for the night? Or what? Because the roads this is not going to be a safe, easy drive tonight. But everybody from the church was relatively local, and most of the people had already left. And so they felt like, okay, yeah, we're going to go ahead and try to get on home. And I told them, I says, if I can get back out on the interstate, I'm sure the interstate's going to be clear, and we'll just take our time. Yeah, it's going to be, okay, instead of a 2-hour drive back to Nashville from Detroit tonight, it might take us a bit longer. But if we can just get back out on the interstate, we'll probably be fine too. Well, anyway, so as was typically the custom for a watch night service, you'd end the night in prayer. Well, we decided that this would be another great opportunity to have another prayer service right here in the parking lot before everybody pulled out, and just ask God's blessing and watch care over each one of us as we went our separate ways. But everybody got in their cars, and we all loaded up in the bus and was able to get some traction to get out of the parking lot. And I'll have to admit that it was a long night, but God was gracious to us and provided protection. And yeah, it's just part of what you do in Michigan on January 1st, starting the New Year's off. Well, anyway, so I was thinking about that event just as we had New Year's just a couple days ago here. I was thinking about that time when we had all these guys there in the parking lot trying to push this big old bus across this ice skating rink. Well, anyway, so this year we didn't have ice, and I'll be honest, it's been actually several years since we've done watch night services. Those don't seem to be as popular as they used to be, but back in the day, and that's one of the events that took place with us many years ago.
Yeah.
Ice skating with a bus.
Yeah, ice skating with the bus for sure. No, I don't think I'd heard this one yet, and well, I know we haven't talked about it on the podcast, and it's just what a great reminder too, like that to put rhythms in our life where we're intentional about reflecting on how good God has been in the course of our life, and then in those situations too, like when the bus gets stuck, where you're surrounded by brothers in Christ who are willing to lend a hand. And what better way to start the new year than have them pray for you and to bless your activities and um, invite invite the Lord into protecting you, into asking Him for protection and everybody going home, and to see Him provide that grace for the for you and everybody else. What a great reminder! What a great reminder it
You
is.
know, I don't know, but I'm guessing that if we could track down any of those men that were out there pushing the bus that night, they still remember that watch night service all these years later.
Yeah, I bet they do. I bet they do.
Yeah, no matter how hard they try to forget it, they still remember trying to
And they're
stand up and push a bus.
and they're thankful no one had cell phone recorders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That might have been a good place for what would it be? A baseball team that had some spikes on their shoes or something like
Yeah,
that.
right.
You get
Yeah.
out there.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
know when we lived in Alaska, I had some spikes that I could strap on the bottom of my boots and so forth for going across ice and
Yep.
so forth. In fact, I think I might still have those.
Yeah. When you were commenting
Yeah.
about the potential, like the rain on the way to Detroit, the first thing that ran through my mind is like our Florida friends don't know the perils of what's about to happen. Yeah.
Yes. Well, when it rains in December 31st in Michigan, like I said, that has the potential anyway of ending up being an ice skating rink.
Yep. For sure. Well, is this a good place to park it?
It is. I don't know. Last time did I ask you what you call an old snowman?
No, no, we didn't talk about
I don't know if
olds.
we discussed that or not.
Uh,
An old snowman is usually just referred to as a puddle.
yeah.
All right, let's park the bus here.
Sounds good. We'll park it here and we'll pick it up again soon.